injury by doing a test and not giving her proper hydration during the test. They gave an osmotic medication, so it draws water to the bowel, so they could see the intestinal tract. She could have gone home, and they said, no, let's do the test. We said, okay. Her kidneys were unfortunately very badly injured. It's very clear in the lab they are trying to blame the diet.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Carnivore Evolution. I'm your host, Victoria Olson, and our co-hosts are Mark Ennis and Nancy Brown. Our guest today is Jessica Roman. Jessica has a story to tell us about how she reversed medical issues with her daughter and pretty much saved her life. Hello, Jessica. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we certainly are pleased that you joined us. We have read your book, which is called Thriving.
Dying to Thriving.
Dying to Thriving. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so excited here. I want to say everything at once. And it was a very emotional experience, a very moving book to read. And we really want to hear your story. So if you would give us a little background and we'll get started. Thank you.
Yeah, so my daughter was born on time at 39 weeks. I was 22 years old. My husband and I were psyched. We thought we were going to have a healthy baby. Everything was normal with my pregnancy. And right after she was born on day 3, the nurses had told us, you can't go home. She hasn't had a wet diaper. And what do you mean she hasn't had a wet diaper? It's been 3 days. So she was brought to the NICU for imaging, catheterization. We were just horrified. I mean, we thought we were going home, and the worst of it was that I had to recover from giving birth. And she stayed in the NICU for a couple of weeks, and we thought that the only issue was some type of urinary retention that was happening. So her bladder just wasn't working, but we thought that was the bulk of it. And then about a week later, she had a barium enema, and they did an x-ray, and they saw that her colon was not formed properly. So her entire intestinal tract didn't look the way it was supposed to look. And that's when we asked for a geneticist to consult. And he must have seen this very rare disorder before, but he put 2 and 2 together between the urinary retention and the malformed intestines. And he got a proper diagnosis on the first try, which is an ACTG2 genetic mutation. And it's a spectrum. Some kids are able to live a pretty normal life and eat some normal foods, and some kids don't even make it out of pregnancy because they pass away in utero because of the pressure on their organs from the megacystic bladder. So it's very complex, and my daughter happens to be on the very severe end. She's not the most severe in terms of phenotype, but she's about 1 step down. So we were scared, but we tried to stay positive, and we brought her home, catheterizing her. She was on formula at first because I was a little overwhelmed trying to breastfeed. I had a lot of oversupply, and I was just pumping constantly. And that was really stressful, having to catheterize a newborn, be a first-time parent, and then try to pump around the clock. And I had to do her catheters every 4 hours. And I'm not a nurse. So I was at home trying to manage all of this, and I just said, let me give her formula to bring the load down on me. And immediately she got worse. Her stomach got distended. She wasn't pooping at all. So I got my supply back, got her latched, breastfed her only, got her completely off the formula within like a week, and she did great. So that was up until she was about 6 months old. We had no issues. We were just catheterizing her. We thought, oh, she must not be that severe. She must be one of the kids that is going to do better. We didn't know about the phenotypes at that point, so we only knew the mean gene. And At 6 months old, we tried some solid foods. We gave her like carrot puree, banana, apples, the things that you think are healthy. And she regressed quickly. Her stomach got big. She was vomiting green bile, projectile vomiting, couldn't keep anything down. So we stopped the solids again. I was really lucky. I had this wonderful pediatric chiropractor that I was bringing her to. And she was like, you don't need to start solids right now. She's 6 months old. Just breastfeed her. So we continued to breastfeed. And she, again, did great with breast milk. No distension, just cute, chubby baby, chunky rubber band wrists, all the things that you'd expect to see from a healthy child. Then when she turned about 12 months old, she was very interested in food. She wanted to eat. So we were feeding her again the things we thought were healthy: chicken breast, blueberries, really no healthy animal fats at all for those extra calories. And she regressed very quickly. Her bowel would have periods where it would just stop, and it's called a pseudo-obstruction, and it would back up all the way, and the intestinal contents were coming back up and out her mouth. And she was just a baby. So we brought her to the children's hospital, and they said, we think she needs an ileostomy. And we decided to go through with that when she was 16 months old. And they also said that she needed to be placed on TPN, which requires a central line. And it's nutrition basically straight into the vein, but it's not good nutrition. It's soybean oil and sugar, and that's it. So that's what these children are growing on, and it causes osteoporosis, liver failure, kidney failure, and kids who are on it often need multivisceral transplants. Some of these kids with her diagnosis get up to 5 organs at once. And as you can imagine, the rejection rate is incredibly high.
With organs at once? Is that even possible?
Yeah, they treat them like a used car, just swapping parts in and out. And they're not eligible for transplant if they're not vaccinated, and we didn't vaccinate her. So she's not eligible for an organ transplant.
Oh dear.
So that complicates things further. But we didn't want to go the transplant route because many of the kids we know that have gone that route are left with rare cancers that are not treatable because of the immunosuppressants. So that's not a good route either, right? It's like, oh, well, you could get a whole new functioning bowel, but it's not that simple because of the rejection. And also a liver transplant, a kidney transplant versus a bowel transplant are very, very different things. So we had her on TPN. We had her on with the ileostomy, which was helping, but then we continued to try to feed her foods, and her ileostomy would prolapse. So her intestine would literally fall out of her stomach, out of her ileostomy. And it was gruesome. And we ended up, needing to just continue to take the medical route. She continued to lose weight, and we were really worried. Her surgeons were worried, her GI doctors were worried that she wouldn't be able to handle what was happening to her body because she was having so many surgeries, abdominal surgeries from blockages, from prolapses, from like mechanical blockages because her intestines were so weak that they would just like twist on themselves and cause a blockage. So it was like a storm that we were in, like a nightmare that just would not end. So we ended up reaching out to and doing a lot of research about the GAPS diet, which is not carnivore, but it's like a gut healing diet. And we found a GAPS practitioner who was wonderful. And she said, okay, this is what the GAPS diet is. We're gonna do onions, garlic, carrots in meat stock, but the base of it is animal foods. And I said, well, she can't have onions. She'll have a pseudo-obstruction. Anything that is fermentable causes huge amounts of gas and it causes a physical blockage in her intestines. So I said, well, she can't have those things, so we're going to have to take those out. She said, well, there's a no plant version. I said, that sounds more like it. Okay. And we decided to try that. And it was like a miraculous healing. It was like watching our child. She was dying. She was 26 pounds at almost 3 years old.
Oh my gosh.
My 1-year-old weighs more than that. She was not talking. She was nonverbal. She had barely any hair on her head. She was in this state of confusion all the time, almost like Alzheimer's. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't playing. She couldn't walk because her stomach was so big. And we started giving her the food in her G-tube little by little while she was supported by TPN. And I don't know if I mentioned, but her stomach was so big, you could bounce a coin on it. Like, it was so big and tight. So we gave her the foods little by little, and she would have these massive amounts of gas because of all the yeast that was in her gut dying off. And after about 2 months, her stomach was flat. She gained 10 pounds.
Wow.
Her lips turned red, her cheeks turned red, her hair was growing, and she was like in the 80th percentile then of her age for weight and height. And she was climbing for the first time. She was running, she was playing, she started talking. It was like a complete and total 180, like a miraculous, before our eyes. Every day we go, she looks even better today than she did yesterday.
Wow, that's
and
wonderful.
that was 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
And she's
That's
still
incredible.
She's still on the same diet, still thriving, still happy, with tons of energy, growing. She's in the 80th percentile for height and weight.
So how did they do it when she was a few months old? Was it all in liquid form? Was she getting the carnivore diet in liquid form, or was she eating solids at that time?
They tried to have us give her G-tube formula, and I at least had enough sense to say, no, we're not giving her this processed, highly processed canola oil and corn syrup. I'm not giving that to her.
Awful.
Terrible.
She did really well with breast milk though, and that's really what carried her until we figured out the diet, because I breastfed her until she was 2.5. So she had at least a little bit of good nutrition. And then after that, I mean, her body just completely transformed.
And it's crazy, isn't it? Because like I say this to parents all the time, like when kids come into the world, they're born into ketosis. And then usually about 2 months, 3 months later, that's when the damage starts. That's when they start buying the stuff in the shops, and that's when things go downhill. And I'm always saying to the women, like, listen, if they're into ketosis the minute they come into the world, you need to keep them there.
Yeah, but doctors hate that. Doctors they are still fighting us to this day on doing what's best for her. And I'm like, would you rather her be on TPN? And you know what they said? Yes, because it's easier for us.
Oh,
Wow.
easier for them. What a horrible excuse.
Yeah. Why can't they not listen to someone like yourself, Jessica?
Evidence.
You're the evidence here. This is what drives me crazy about the health system. It's just like, we have to do what you guys tell us now, and we just ignore what Jessica went through.
Yeah.
It's wrong. It's so wrong.
Well, when the proof is right there in front of them.
Yeah.
How could you see a child transform like this? It's all documented in her medical chart. And, you know, originally the hospital that we're seen at was going to study this. And then the administration stepped in and said no. And so I'm actually working with a Harvard researcher because I work with families. I've worked with 16 families now around the world with the same diagnosis. And many of the kids have had the exact same transformation. It just depends what level the parents are committed to doing the diet. So, you know, there's a lot of parents that go, oh yeah, we're doing no plant gaps. but they're still letting their kid eat French fries.
Yeah.
You're not doing the diet.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, this is all or nothing. And if you want to see real progress, you can't give them the fermentable foods because they do have issues. And so there's a little girl in Chile who was able to come off TPN completely as well. She looks.
Come off of it. Oh,
yeah. Finally.
Yeah.
She's off. She's doing great. She does flamenco dancing. She's able to go to kindergarten. And
is that wonderful?
She's beautiful. It's so funny. Like, she looks like my daughter. And her mom and myself are very close. So we're always sending pictures back and forth, and she's like the little Spanish version of my daughter. It's very cute.
Brilliant. So sweet.
And there's kids in Korea. We meet with a translator, and we just go through everything that we can. It usually takes about double or triple the time because we have to translate everything. But they're like, for the first time, we were able to sit down as a family and eat because they don't usually feed their daughter anything. She just has the TPN because everything causes issues. So they're like, we're able to sit down and she can have fish. We just have to make sure there's no seasoning and no soy sauce or anything else. So it's been really rewarding, and it is going to be published, and I will not stop until it's published because children need this, and many families have lost their children to this disease unnecessarily because they're being given the wrong nutrition advice. And imagine if we treated this disease as a diet first. If we started with diet, it would save kids' lives.
Well said. 100%. That's the reason why we're doing these podcasts, is stories like yourself, Jessica, and the spread the word. And if you have a book that needs to be published and people need to hear it, this is what we're doing this for, because I believe this as well. Like, I just can't believe there's so many people in the world that are thriving on this diet. It's you can't turn around and say it's a fad anymore. There's over 1 million people in the world that are eating this way. People are going to hear your story after this podcast today. They're going to be amazed when they hear it. And this is what we're seeing at the moment. Like, we're seeing this is happening with kids. Kids are walking around with serious health issues at the moment. Serious health issues. And we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do about the situation. Fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, the list goes on and on and on. And we have even autism. We don't know how to solve it. And I only had this conversation with someone about 3 weeks ago. I was actually talking about autism. And I said to him, like, can you not just look at the diet? Why do you keep on looking at the treatment or medication? Why don't you not just look at the diet? And then he sent me back the diet. He sent me back the diet, and he said to me that my child is eating healthy, and he sent me back the oats, the fruits, the vegetables. And I said, listen, there's the problem. There's the problem right there. And then he was feeding his child processed food every now and again. I'm like, listen, don't be giving your child processed food at all. Like, you're literally poisoning your child. Every parent always says, my priority are my kids. I'll always look after my kids. I love my kids. But you're poisoning your kids. Yeah. And then when you have that conversation with the parents, they're looking at you and thinking that you're the bad guy here. You're the one that's telling me what to do with my children. And I'm like, I'm not telling you what to do with your children. I'm just giving you advice. And if you don't listen to my advice, I'm hoping you listen to this podcast so you can actually make up your own minds.
Yeah. I mean, if you, like my daughter, her neurological function, it was so bad. She wasn't even able to talk, for God's sake. And then she just turned around and she's smiling at us for the first time, and she's laughing.
Brilliant.
And she's making eye contact. We're talking to her, and she's talking back to us and saying words, and we're just like high-fiving each other. You know, we had to put her in a wagon, even in the house, with her TPN bag, and just pull her around and look at the toy. Look, do you want to play? And she would just nothing.
Oh, Jessica, how heartbreaking. How heartbreaking. We're all parents here, and we can relate to this. It's just, I could not imagine what you went through. You were so brave and so persistent. Thank goodness you were.
Yeah, you can't give up on your kids. And
absolutely not. 100%.
We've normalized exactly like poisoning our children with food, and people think, well, I want them to enjoy. I want them to have the pleasure that I feel when I eat these foods, right? And you're not doing your kid any favors by making them a sugar addict from a young age. You're setting them up for failure. I was lucky that I came from a household where I was eating mostly home-cooked meals. My mom cooked every day. And my mom was pretty strict on the sugar, even in the early 2000s and in the 90s. She was like, you're not just eating sugar, eat real food. And we were maybe on more of a whole foods diet, but we did have a lot of carbohydrates. We still had pasta and things like that. But it was better than a lot of kids that I went to school with. And so I was onto it a little bit, but my husband, I was really lucky to find the right man because he had done carnivore already. He did it.
Really?
He was a bodybuilder. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So he was on carnivore for years before we met, and I was like, you look amazing. And of course he was like, you don't need carbohydrates to survive. And I was like, bread is a whole food group. Like it's at the bottom of the food pyramid, right? Like we're supposed to eat grains.
It's the foundation,
Yeah, and he's like, you don't need that. So if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have been so open-minded to the diet. He was like, you can live off steak. I lived off steak for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you try it, you don't know. This is what frustrates me. People are saying that you can't live off red meat for the rest of your life. How can you tell me that when you've never even tried it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They hide the nutrition of what is actually in red meat. They tell us it's just protein. Yeah. But really it has every single thing that you need. And they focus on, well, carrots are very high in vitamin A. And you're like,
exactly.
Beef liver, hello.
Yeah. You can't absorb the vitamin A from the carrots.
Exactly.
And we only spoke to Bart Kay the other day, like 2 days ago, and I asked him a simple question. I asked him, like, if we're eating red meat, are we deficient in any mineral or vitamin? And he just plain put it out there. There's nothing we're deficient in, even vitamin C.
Yeah.
You're getting everything that you need, every single vitamin and mineral that you need in red meats. So it's like, it just begs to differ. Like I just asked the question, like, what are we missing out on? You know what I mean?
Jessica, what do you feed her? What does her diet look like? And do you monitor it for macros at all? Or do you just have a set of foods that you feed her on a regular basis? How does that work?
She has a lot of food trauma, understandably so.
Oh, yeah.
Just because when she was little, every time she would eat something, she would almost die. So it wasn't very helpful in developing a healthy relationship with food. So she does eat by mouth, a little bit, but the bulk of her nutrition comes from her G-tube. So I actually do carnivore G-tube feeds for her.
Wow.
So I make homemade 24-hour fermented GAPS yogurt. So there's no lactose in it. I actually go more towards like 36 hours, so it's 100% no lactose left. It's all been fermented. So she's getting carbohydrates, but she's not getting carbohydrates that could cause harm to her microbiome.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of that. And then I do like 4 egg yolks per G-tube feed. And then I cook these huge pots of organ meats, chuck roasts, and bones. So it's like a big pot it's called meat stock in the GAPS community. So I make that and I blend that and freeze it in portion sizes. And she gets like 400 mLs of that 3 times a day of that blend. I add salt to it. And then for her electrolytes, we were having an issue because her ileostomy, she's letting go of a lot of electrolytes. So I actually make GAPS meat stock, and that is her electrolytes. And it has all the potassium she needs. It has all the magnesium she needs. Wow. Her electrolytes were dropping so low that she had to be life-flighted once because her potassium was so low.
Oh dear.
Because of the ileostomy, she can't reabsorb the electrolytes in her colon. And meat stock has every single electrolyte that you need. So I see a lot in the carnivore community being stressed about electrolytes, and there's that new brand Salter. I really like that brand, but for very, very sensitive kids, meat stock is the best because not only does it have all the electrolytes, it's healing and sealing their gut because of all the amino acids, the gelatin, the collagen. So that's what she gets for hydration, also through her G-tube. And then when she eats, she'll have like a steak, or she'll have chicken breast. She likes things that don't have a lot of fat. She struggles with the textures. But I can make her like a little carnivore mayonnaise that she has with her chicken. If we go out to dinner, which we very rarely do, it's been like probably a year since we've been out to eat, but if we do, we bring her a little container of chicken with her carnivore mayonnaise. I put little leaves of cilantro on top so she feels like, and then I'll put it on the plate for her. She's very detail oriented, so she wants to feel like she's getting the experience too.
That's wonderful.
And then I do fun things, like I'll make gummies for her. Really? Yeah, just gelatin and lemon juice and stevia.
Nice.
And I make gummy bears, and she'll just eat those all day. They're delicious.
Amazing.
That's
great. And what does the family think about it, Jessica? Are they all on board
with what you're feeding her? Yeah.
Oh, our families, they are so supportive. I mean, my parents couldn't be happier, and Tom's parents, all of our brothers. We don't have sisters, but all of our brothers are very much on board and happy. Tom's brother is a physician. He's a spinal surgeon, and he loves it. He's so happy to see her transformation. Good. Yeah. And my father-in-law is on a press tour with my book. He's so passionate about it that he's calling all of the medical schools and telling them about my daughter. Yeah, so he's very passionate. Because he's seen, all of them saw her, and all of us knew what was inevitably coming if we continued to follow the medical model. So when everyone saw her transform, it was very telling for all of us.
You couldn't argue against it.
Yeah. Even my own parents, I've been able to like, I'm like, Dad, you should really get into ketosis. You should stop.
Yeah, like, that's great. I love that conversation.
Yeah. Well, he's very much like, he's a red meat kind of guy anyway. He'll eat steak all day. I'm like, but you could just eat steak. You don't have to eat anything else. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, doesn't that sound great?
Yeah, it is. It is great. My goodness. Nancy, did you have a question for us? Huh? I bet you did.
Hi, Jessica. I'm just wondering, like you were describing the foods that she eats. And first question is, I'm assuming, does the rest of the family pretty much eat the same way and the same types of foods? That's my first question.
Yes. So my sons don't have any food issues really. Like my youngest son does have a little bit. We went through him having a little bit of a milk allergy. So we're careful he can't have like the yogurt or the butter. But we are very meat-based. My sons do eat fruit and nuts and seeds and things like that. But for the most part, we are very focused on fatty meats, gut healing foods, animal foods. And we try to not limit the fruit intake, but we try to prioritize the animal foods because we know that that's what's helping them. And my boys are very big, very healthy, and very, very smart, but also very coordinated. And with my third, I actually went my entire pregnancy on my daughter's diet only. So I only ate the no plant gaps diet, fermented yogurt. I was doing kefir. I would do, this is how my third son, I was able to carry him to term with a healthy pregnancy. I ate 12 egg yolks per day in a quart of kefir. And then I would eat red meat the rest of the day. And he was our healthiest baby. I was able to have him at home. Wow, our second was premature. So I do tend to have premature births. I had issues with both of my first two, like trying to keep them in long enough. So at 16 weeks, I started having contractions with my third, and I was like, that's it. I'm going 100% carnivore for my whole pregnancy. And it was great. And it's cleared up a lot of health issues that my husband and I have had too, little stuff, and inflammation, rashes, eczema, and it goes away.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I was wondering if, like you were mentioning how certain amount of the food needs to go into the tube. Is that right? Have I got that right? And
Yeah.
some she can chew?
She can eat as much as she wants. She just honestly prefers not to because of the food trauma. So I'll say to her, like, Riley, I'm making a ribeye. Do you want some steak or do you want a G-tube feed? And she's like, no, I'll just have a G-tube feed. Can I have some gummies? I'm like, okay. So I think as she gets older, like we've had the conversation, she's 6 and she's very mature because of everything she's been through. And I tell her, as you get older, if you don't want to keep your G-tube, you could just start to eat these foods and we can work on that slowly but surely together. And there's times when she has a great appetite and she'll just put away a whole steak. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And then there's other times when she just doesn't feel like eating.
Yeah.
And can she process like or take in fat okay? Like you said she didn't like the texture of fat, but do you try to incorporate a good amount into the diet?
Yes, absolutely. When she was very little, because she was on TPN, she was having elevated liver enzymes and like signs that liver failure was on the horizon. So once we started the diet, the first time we gave her an egg yolk, I probably should have given her like not a whole egg yolk, but I thought, let's see what happens. It can't be that bad. She vomited everywhere and her gallbladder just cleared out. So because she has an ileostomy, I can see what's coming out. You don't have to look in the toilet. I was emptying it into Ziplocs at that point. So I looked and it was an entire ostomy pouch full of gallstones.
Oh my gosh.
She had.
In a young child.
Yes.
Wow. Oh,
2.
that poor thing.
So
she was 2 years old. Oh my gosh.
So then when we saw that, after her gallbladder cleared out, now that continued. She continued to have more gallstones and liver stones. Some of them were as big as my thumb and as dark as my hair.
Oh my gosh.
So they were old, they were oxidized, and they were blocking the bile ducts in her liver because she didn't have any animal fat. And animal fat moving through the body is what makes the liver contract and makes the bile come out of the gallbladder, moves it through. So that's how you get fatty liver disease, right? And that's
low-fat
essentially
diet does that.
Yeah, because she didn't have anything to push the bile through. So once we started moving that bile through, and her liver cleared out, then she tolerated fat incredibly well. Even with an ileostomy, she still tolerates fat incredibly well. She gets 12 egg yolks a day.
Wow.
And she's fine.
Is there anything that she can't have besides what you've already mentioned that you've noticed, like on that GAPS diet even? I know you mentioned the meat stock. Can she have bone broth? Because I know some people can't tolerate bone broth because of the high histamine amounts in it, but she could probably be okay with like bone broth, longer fermented, or cooked, right?
She can have traditional 72-hour cooked bone broth. She tolerates it very well. I think because she's been on the diet for so long, her gut is so healthy. Like compared to all of us, she probably has the healthiest gut.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't cheated once. There has been no slip-ups because there can't be.
Yeah. Do you add salt to her meat stock?
Yes. I salt everything generously to taste, just like I would for myself. And even in her blood work, we can see her sodium drop if we're not adding it to her G-tube feeds and stuff. So she needs that extra sodium, especially with the ileostomy, because you lose sodium very quickly.
Wow, honestly, it's an incredible story. It really is.
She was diagnosed with intestinal failure. That was the diagnosis before we started.
Oh my God, honestly. She's going to thank you when she's older, anyway.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I think so.
Would you tell us a little about MMIHS, the condition that she had?
Yeah. So basically, MMIHS is where you have a malformed intestinal tract, and then you also have a bladder that doesn't contract properly. So all of the smooth muscles in the body, the bowel and the bladder, and the uterus in girls, doesn't contract properly. And it causes the food to move through very, very, very slowly. Most of these kids do need an ileostomy because the colon seems to be even slower than the small intestine. So when you bypass the colon by creating an ileostomy, you take the end of the small intestine and put it out through the stomach, and it gets emptied into a bag. That helps to speed things up to where they can tolerate and absorb nutrition. And then almost all of them require catheterization for their bladders. Now, on Carnivore, she's also gained bladder control. So she was in 100% urinary retention before. Her bladder would fill all the way up. I mean, there were times when we would get 750 mLs if she was in a retention episode.
Oh my gosh.
Cathing her, and like never did it on purpose, but on accident, like her catheter would fall out in the night and we would cath her in the morning, and not pretty, not fun. Now she actually has feeling, which she never had.
Wow.
So she'll be like, oh, I have to pee, and she'll run. And
that's wonderful.
she goes on her own now all day. So we don't need to, I only cath her at night because she does get a lot of fluids overnight to compensate for the ileostomy. But probably if we didn't need to do the overnight fluids, she wouldn't need catheters.
Wow. That's wonderful. She regained sensitivity. That's
Yeah.
miraculous.
I mean, we're talking about a genetic disorder that shouldn't be able to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's MMIHS is supposed to be progressive and terminal. And we have shown that it's neither if it's treated properly.
Fantastic.
Wow. Amazing.
That is amazing.
We have a lot of work to do on spreading the word, but we're definitely in a David and Goliath battle, because there are forces at play right now in this moment that do not want this information coming out. And
That's
the administration at the Children's Hospital is fighting us like you would not believe.
Really? So it's really bad is at the moment, or are you getting much pushback?
Yeah, it's
Really?
very bad at the moment. It's very bad.
How could they? How could they even think to protest? I don't get it. Yeah.
Give us a little bit of detail. What's going on there?
Yeah.
They caused a kidney injury by doing a test and not giving her proper hydration during the test. They gave an osmotic medication, so it draws water to the bowel, so they could see the intestinal tract, because she had a slowing of her intestines over the summer because she contracted a virus. It's very normal for these kids with MMIHS to have a virus and things slow down a little bit. So we brought her to the hospital. She could have gone home, and they said, no, let's do the test. We said, okay. Her kidneys were injured, unfortunately, very badly injured. And it's very clear in the labs, and it was confirmed by nephrology. We have a letter confirming, and they are trying to blame the diet.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
When it was very clearly an acute event, but there's not much that they can do at this point, because nephrology backed us and said this was a fluid management issue. This is not a dietary issue, but it is an ongoing thing. And hospitals want to cover their own butts, and they don't want to admit to wrongdoing.
Yeah,
and
they don't want a lawsuit.
Yeah, we're easy targets. Because we're doing something outside of the box.
Yeah, we have the same in our country at the moment. We're going through a massive flu epidemic in my country at the moment, and there's a lot of young children that are coming up and they're getting really, really sick, and everybody's pushing them towards to get these flu vaccines, and it's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy, because I wish I could reach out to these parents and just say, listen, before you do that, take a look at the diet. Just take a look at what you're feeding the kids, because I've said this all along. I've been doing this over 5 years now. I haven't had the flu once. I've never been sick in 5 years. Never. And I'm like, I'm not the only one. I speak to people on a regular basis in the carnivore community, and they're all telling me the exact same thing, that they haven't been sick in years. And people don't believe us.
No.
And I mentioned this to doctors. And they're looking at me and saying, no, that's not real. I'm like, I'm telling you. Yeah. Because I remember getting my blood work done about a year ago, I think about just over a year and a half ago. And I'll never forget it. This was the only time I got blood work done. And I walked in and he looked at my LDL, he looked at my cholesterol. He's like, these are very, very high. Are you okay? And I said, doctor, look at me. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I feel great. You don't need to worry about me. This guy was overweight.
Wow. That's
And
how it
I'm
is.
looking at I'm looking at him. I could see all the darkness underneath his eyes. I could see the stress underneath his eyes. And I'm like, if anything, you need to help here. You need to go on the carnivore diet. You know what I mean? You need to stay off those statins and start going on the carnivore diet.
It's the same with the doctors that we deal with. And I mean, even their children are obese, like
It's
morbidly
crazy.
obese. And I'm like, you're telling me that I'm doing the wrong thing, but look at your child and look at mine.
And see, the problem is this: if you go off their roster, they lose a customer, and that really, really annoys them.
It does.
And that's what, you know what I mean? And that's where it all comes down to. It's all about profits. They don't care. They don't care. You see how much money they're making. I mean, I looked at it last year. Pfizer made like trillions last year.
Yeah.
Trillions. You're not talking about billions, trillions.
And TPN is the premier support for these kids. TPN is $1,000 a day.
Wow.
So Riley's been off TPN for 3.5 years. And they have lost $1,000 every day she's been off.
Too bad. Too bad. You are so generous and charitable, Jessica, to the big pharmaceutical industry and the big health industry. I was just so super the restraint you showed, or didn't even seem like that. You were just being so kind when here they really are attempted murderers. And I hope I get in trouble for that, because I feel strongly about that. It's just awful what they're doing.
Well, I had to rewrite those sections many, many, many times. Believe me, it was not easy to come across that way, because I do feel a deep anger all the way in my soul for what my daughter went through and not getting the proper nutrition, and now what they're putting our family through. I really do, but I know that there are good people in that system who are genuinely doing their best. It's just at the very top, there are very evil people.
Can I just ask a question? Can I just ask a question about that, Jessica? Like, when you were very, very angry, did you go back and speak to these doctors and say, listen, look what I've done to my child now?
Of course.
How can you possibly, and what happened there? What happened there?
Well, the doctors who are the absolute experts in MMIHS in the world back us and support us. But the other doctors that they work with are on an absolute witch hunt. So while she was admitted this summer, they said, we are going to run every single lab, we're going to run every single test, because they wanted to prove that what we were doing was dangerous. Despite the fact that she was on TPN for 2 years as a developing toddler, she should have osteoporosis. Her bone density is perfect. Her bone density is perfect. Yes. They wanted to show that, and they ran every nutritional lab you can imagine, every vitamin, every mineral, perfect. They ran not only bone density scans, they scanned all of her organs with ultrasound, perfect.
Wonderful.
Everything's perfect. So they couldn't find a single thing wrong. And the doctors that treat kids with MMIHS have called us heroes. They said we stood in the gap, but they will not say that to their colleagues.
That's terrible.
That's shocking,
really
isn't it?
Crazy
shocking
to see. It's like, look at this kid was dying, and now look at her. You can see it in her chart. You can see her weight was off the charts on the bottom.
On the bottom,
was in the negative 4th percentile.
Wow.
And now she's in the 80th consistently.
That makes me so angry. Yeah, I can only imagine.
And is there any other, like when we were mentioning that everything looked good, like all the different tests and stuff that they've done, you know, there's always this complaint with when people are on carnivore that their cholesterol is too high. And that's always the big thing. Like Mark was just saying, when you went and got your blood work done and, oh, but your cholesterol is too high. That's very dangerous. Is there any cholesterol markers with her or even with the others? Like, I mean, because everybody, I mean, my LDL went up and, you know, that kind of thing, but everything else was good. So is there anything that shows on hers? Because I'm assuming she probably has to get some blood work done.
I don't know if they checked her cholesterol. I'll have to look in her chart. I know she's had it checked before and it was perfectly normal. So I think they skipped over that. I'll tell you, the dietitians and nutritionists really don't know what they're doing, and they're literally like talking to me, reading off of the food pyramid, going, well, she needs to have at least 60% of her diet come from carbs. I'm like,
oh no, yes,
you're
fill
going
with
to
that.
kill my child. You're going to kill my
Yes.
child if you feed her like this.
Yes.
That's what almost
Yes.
killed her before. And they're going, and then they said to me, they had the nerve to say, well, she's so much better now. Her motility is perfect now. That's what the testing showed. So she can tolerate these foods now.
Oh no, that doesn't work.
Let's just do an experiment, shall we?
No.
I said, she has a genetic disorder. This is never going to change. How many times do we have to prove this? Oh, it's really
dissidents.
It's
Awful.
a crime. It's criminal.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's exactly the word for it. Criminal.
I feel like they're intentionally trying to cause harm to my daughter so that they can say, well, look, it didn't work.
And isn't it amazing that these are the people that we're relying on?
Yes.
Everybody in the world who's struggling with a health issue at the moment, these are the people that are told that you need to go and see a dietitian. You need to go and see a nutritionist. And these people are actually making it worse.
They have all the power over us.
They're
and
making,
especially as parents, they have all the power.
Yeah, because I see this all the time when I switch on the TV. Every time I switch on the TV, you'll see some dietitian on it. And they'll say, especially this time of the year, I was watching, I watched, I think in the last 2 weeks, I've seen three nutritionists on TV, and every one of them are saying this time of the year, don't neglect your children, make sure they're eating the foods that they enjoy. And I'm like, this is wrong. This is the wrong information. This is so wrong.
Yeah.
Like let your kids enjoy Christmas, let your kids enjoy the treats. When you take it away from them, you're actually making it worse. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. It's
and it's like, why can't they can still enjoy food.
Absolutely.
Food doesn't have to be, but we can make it healthy for them.
Absolutely. 100%. It's like, you don't need to, like, we say this in the carnivore space. Food is not meant to be like a pleasure thing anymore. It's just fueling your body. You're feeling good. That's just nourishing your body. We don't look at food as entertainment anymore. We're past all that. We know what it's doing to the body. And I think people don't realize the damage that these foods are doing to their body because they're so used to eating them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's when I was eating this way for years and years and years, I was doing a lot of damage to my body. But because I was so used to it, I didn't realize it. It wasn't until I gave my body a complete detox for like 6 months, and then I experimented. I added the carbs back in. Then I was like, oh, I can really feel this now. Even the fruits, I was like, oh, now I understand how powerful these foods are.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best book I've ever read on it is I'm a certified GAPS coach because I believe in GAPS so much, but the GAPS diet book, Gut and Psychology Syndrome, Dr. Natasha has such an incredible way of explaining why the microbiome is so important. And when you give yourself or your children the wrong foods, you're building the pathogens in their microbiome. And I've seen it firsthand because I've watched parasites, yeast, gallstones, liver stones come out of my child because she has an ostomy pouch, so I can see it all, you know? And it doesn't, and I know that her food is blended, so these bone things that are coming out are not food.
Where did those come from? You mentioned the parasites a couple times in the book. How did she acquire them?
It's so interesting. I really don't know. I mean, it's not like we're giving her like raw meat or anything.
Yeah.
I think just our environment. I think we're all predisposed and we all have them. Especially in a diseased body. There was a child who I'm friends with the parents, but they called me and said, our daughter has stage 4 cancer, and I had no idea. And I said, you need to get in touch with Dr. William Mackies. Dr. William Mackies is a Canadian oncologist, and he treats adults and children with cancer with antiparasitics. And when I tell you, they started the antiparasitic protocol that he recommended for their daughter, and she had stage 4 brain cancer, and she was pooping out worms by the diaper full. And so when you have a body that has disease, like my daughter, her mitochondria aren't functioning right, She's getting fed soybean oil. Parasites really are just there to clean up the mess. They're there because the body has things that need to be taken care of. And so when we removed those things and her body got healthier, the biofilms that they're hiding inside of in your intestines, they get broken down and the worms die and come out.
Yeah.
It's really incredible to see.
And children and babies, like even nursing, can get them from us.
Yeah.
They can get parasites from us, even just nursing. So if we have a heavy load ourselves, then we can be passing them on to our kids. Have you tried doing like a parasite protocol yourself?
I haven't, because I just do the diet and it actually works. Like you can, the problem with parasite protocols that I see is that the parasites are there for a reason. So if you do a parasite protocol, you're really throwing off the balance that's in your body. Whereas if you use food to reduce your parasitic load, you are working with your body and you can clean out those parasites in a way that your body can handle. Otherwise, you can overload your detox systems. Then people say, well, take binders with it. Okay, well now you're binding also to your minerals and things that you need to detox. And I know many people who have come to me who have very bad malnutrition and micronutrient deficiencies because of doing parasite cleanses with binders all the time. And the other thing is, if you take the medications incorrectly and you kill all of the mother parasites, all of the eggs will hatch. So once that mother dies, she sends out a hormone to the eggs to hatch. So now you could have millions of parasites instead of thousands. So it can get hairy very quickly unless you're working with a practitioner who really understands.
And plus you're still nursing, aren't you?
Yes. I've been nursing for 6 years. Between my 3 kids.
It's motherhood.
Yeah. And you can't do parasite detoxes while you're nursing, exactly. But I think that just staying in a state of ketosis as much as possible and keeping your body as clean as possible, and also probiotics. Like I do eat fermented foods. I do drink sauerkraut juice that I make. And that really also keeps the parasitic load in the body down because it keeps them from building biofilms in the body, and it actually crowds them out with good bacteria.
You mentioned that child that had stage 4 cancer. Is she better now, or is she improved? Or
she was at the very, very end when they started the parasite protocols, and she started improving. And she was looking really great. She was eating, she was sitting up, she had an appetite, she was playing. And then, unfortunately, they tried an experimental type of radiation. And that was it. She was gone just a few days later.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
This was a brain tumor, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what I hear about like if you know anything about, metabolic approaches to cancer and so on, radiation on the brain, I mean, that's what they always do, but it's almost never successful.
No.
I mean, yeah, you could imagine why, right? Like it's just so shocking that that's how we have a sick person who is having the worst symptoms ever, right? Mitochondrial breakdown, metabolic collapse. And we're going to blast them with radiation and hope that they get better.
Yeah.
And isn't it amazing that none of these people are ever held accountable? Never.
No, and they never will be, unfortunately.
No. It's just like if you or I did that, we'd be in prison.
Yeah. This is why we need God.
It's unbelievable. It's honestly, you look back at I always say this. You look back when we went through COVID, and you look at the amount of people that suffered, and you weren't even allowed to hold these people's hands. You couldn't even visit these people. Couldn't even visit them. But they said to you, you can sit at home, you can watch Netflix all day, you can order takeaways, you can drink alcohol, but we're going to look after you. Honestly, It just when I talk about it, it just gets me really, really angry. It really does. It's unbelievable how so many people in the world, including our children, are really, really struggling, and they're just not getting the help that they need. I have to ask you the question, Jessica, because this came up a few months ago with President Trump about the Tylenol. With women, that when they go through the pregnancy, that a lot of women were saying that it's extremely important. What are your thoughts on this?
I took Tylenol during my first pregnancy, and I had a child born with an incurable genetic disorder.
Really?
So I think that what happens with Tylenol is it completely wipes out all the glutathione in your body, right?
Yeah.
Which is your biggest antioxidant. You need that for your baby. I think that anything you can do to reduce the amount of pharmaceuticals going into your body, especially as a pregnant woman, is smart. My sister-in-law is pregnant right now, my brother's first baby, very exciting. And she took care of herself. She's been on a mostly carnivore diet for years prior to getting pregnant. And I look at her versus my first pregnancy and polar opposites. I mean, I was on the couch, I had hyperemesis, I was losing weight, I was vomiting constantly. She's 31 weeks pregnant and she is up and working out and doing incredibly well. And it's really just, if you need Tylenol during your pregnancy, you have high inflammation and you have nutritional deficiencies. And you can fix all of that by do carnivore for a year before you get pregnant. You'll never have an issue. You won't need Tylenol. And if you really have an issue, take Arnica. It's a homeopathic. You can get it on Amazon, and they come in little bottles, and it has the same effect as Tylenol with none of the side effects. So that's what I take like myself. I have an issue with clenching my jaw when I get stressed. So I just take Arnica and I'm fine. Or magnesium, because that will relax the muscles. But yeah, I think that Tylenol is definitely not a good thing. And I do think it was kind of used as a scapegoat for the autism epidemic. But they're never really going to address the vaccines. Let's be honest. It's their biggest money maker. So any pharmaceuticals during pregnancy are not a good thing. Right? That's my take.
Pregnancy or nursing, right? Yeah.
Well, we have learned so much from you, and you are doing an amazing job getting the word out there. Thank you. Your book is wonderful. It is a real page turner. And as I said, it's an emotional experience. It's gripping, and I'm so glad it has a happy ending. I could cry. It's just so beautiful. And I'm so happy for you and your family, your daughter, for everyone involved there.
Thank you. It's been so beautiful, really beautiful. And thank you guys for your support and for having me. The only way that we spread the word is boots on the ground, podcasts like this that give people hope. And I can't tell you how many parents have come to me and said, for the first time, your story is giving us hope. We felt like there was no hope for our daughter, and now we know that there is, or our son. And I can't tell you how many kids I've watched transform like that. And
That's wonderful.
It's really incredible. One little boy I want to tell you about real quick before we go. He was 8 years old, and he was back and forth to the hospital on TPN. He was 49 pounds. And my daughter's a 6-year-old girl, and she's 53 pounds. So he was completely malnourished, little skinny arms, huge tummy, pale, no color in his face. I actually interviewed his mom on my YouTube channel. And in just a couple of months on the diet, he gained 20 pounds.
Wow.
And has not had a pseudo-obstruction or a hospitalization since. That was over a year ago.
Good.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible story. It really is.
Fantastic.
It's inspiring when you hear these kind of things. It really is.
So
Jessica, sorry, Victoria. I just want to say it just goes to show you that there's always hope.
Yes.
I think that's the key word there. There's always hope. Just don't give up.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Jessica, I want to hear from you about your organization and ways that people can get in touch with you, because I think there should be no block to that. We should get that information out there.
Yeah, thank you. So anyone who has like particular questions can send me like DMs on Instagram. I try to check them, but I'm actually better with email. My email is info@chealthcollective.org, and my website is Christian Health Collective, C Health Collective. I have many practitioners on there who are wonderful for different modalities. I'm on there, I do private appointments with people. I mostly focus on intestinal failure cases, but we can help with pretty much any issue you can think of. I have another GAPS practitioner on there, Sunny Hogan, who's incredible. We have mental health counselors, so lots of resources and support for families and individuals. And my Instagram is C Health Collective, and my YouTube channel, I don't even know my YouTube channel. Oof. I don't post a lot. I try to be good about social media, but I'm not the best at posting very often. But I do have a couple long form videos on my YouTube where I interview parents. I have a couple of podcasts about birth if people are interested in that, getting out of the birthing industrial complex as well. So yeah, I'm always open to questions. I'm always here for support, and if anyone's dealing with something, they can totally reach out. We're happy to help.
Amazing. Put those links below.
We can offer you the raw footage from this video, and you can post that yourself on YouTube if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. I'll tag you.
Yeah, I'll send you that through email.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
It's been a pleasure, Jessica. Your stories really inspiring. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
All right then. Thank you so much, and we'll say goodbye now.
Big sound.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.